Good afternoon. You're welcome to NTV at One. My name is Malcolm Simi. Let's have a look at this hour's headlines.
13 arrested for dumping garbage by the roadside and trenches in Kampala. Also coming up, the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency says Islamic State fighters in Iraq and Syria now have more than 30,000 fighters on the ground. And found guilty, Oscar Pistorius is convicted on charges of culpable homicide.
Welcome once again. My name is Malcolm Sime. Let's start with an update from the Kampala Capital City Authority. 13 people in the KCCA court for poor disposal of their domestic waste. These were arrested yesterday in an operation carried out by the Solid Waste and Sanitation arm of the KCCA, which operation was carried out in various areas along Bukesa Road, Gaddafi Road and the Law Development Center in Makerere. The Solid Waste and Sanitation Supervisor Josephine Kitaka told NTV that the suspects operate along on the roadside businesses, especially restaurants, and she urged the public to follow the KCCA orders to bring a truck program and avoid inconveniences because the operation still continues.
Yes, sir. What's Jangu?
In the operation of yesterday, we apprehended 13 suspects, and they have been prosecuted today in courts of law, and they are going to be charged against littering within the city. My advice to the community is try to ensure that you collect your waste, keep it in a gunny bag and wait for the truck, or else utilize a private waste collector.
A 25-year-old woman has given birth to 5 children, but 3 of them have passed on. The woman, Gertrude Lyaka, was delivered of the quadruplets at Ginger Hospital, and according to the hospital director, Dr. Michael Osinde Odongo, the death can be blamed on the rampant power outages at the hospital. Dr. Osinde told NTV that the babies are prematures and needed to be put in incubators, which required a steady power supply. The surviving 2 babies have since been transferred to Mulago Hospital for further monitoring.
With the 5, I think, to the best of my knowledge, it's like 1 in 10 million. It's very rare. 1 passed on within a few hours after birth, and then the last the night we lost 2. So we have 2 surviving. We have our own shortcomings with the electricity. When the power goes off, it means all the life support systems seem to also be shut off. So we start panicking, and last night we had exactly that. We had power cuts, I think, about 3 or 4 times. Immediately the power goes off like this, everything goes off. So which means you have switched off life.
Now, although crafts come second to the agriculture products being traded out of Africa, Uganda's failure to have a framework to support this segment is curtailing foreign exchange inflows. The Uganda National Chamber of Commerce and Industry says competitiveness of the economy around agriculture and crafts requires a policy shift. Michael Galabuzi, the Secretary General of the Chamber of Commerce, was speaking here in Kampala on the sidelines of a training program targeting players in cottage industries.
We do not have knowledge, we do not have the expertise, we do not have the skills, we don't know even where the market is. So this training is to equip the sector players with the knowledge so that they can gain better access to the market.
While international trade has challenges in terms of cost of investment, it is the way to go. Why? It is going to solve our employment opportunities. It is going to help on the local industry because it has tiny cottage small and medium industries embedded in the crafts industry. Actually, handcrafts in Africa is second to agriculture in employment generating. That means it is a necessary prerequisite.
The rains are on and all kinds of waste finds its way into water bodies. The United Nations Environmental Programme blames this pollution largely on human activity and worries that the ecosystem could be deeply hurt. In Nature Files this afternoon, Florence Naluimba expounds on this danger.
You probably have no idea where that water you discard from your home finally ends up.
Gathering together somewhere, and what they are threatening maybe some kilometers far away from them.
The same goes for water bottles. Then the latrines, which release waste into the environment whenever it rains. According to the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, even the strongest domestic sewage have over 99% water.
The environment, when it is polluted with fecal matter, the dust blow, the flies breed highly, and therefore these assist in the transmission of diseases.
Having a badly cleaned wastewater could give conditions for a number of health risks.
Like diarrheas, dysentery, typhoids, cholera.
UNEP is now saying that these wastewater flows into rivers, lakes, dams, and shores. These flows are affecting the fauna and the flora.
But in the chain, all these will return to the polluter. Sisi Geladio from the Swiss Tropical and Public Health Institute, who's working on a project on waste recovery in Kampala and 3 other cities in Lima, Bangalore in India and Hanoi in Vietnam, explains that the rapid rise in human population is a major worry because water bodies across the world are under invasion.
In Kampala, you don't find such strong proximity of communities with Lake Victoria, for instance, as this is the case with the lagoon in Côte d'Ivoire. But it's coming close. You have all around the swamps, there are communities coming close and close.
There is a lot of human activity and structures around Lake Victoria, including hotel businesses, homes and beaches. Some of these are not within the limits stipulated by the National Environment Management Authority, NEMA.
All lakes have a buffer zone or a protection zone. Lake Victoria particularly has a protection zone or buffer zone of 200 meters. Ideally, there should not be any activities being carried out within the 200-meter zone.
But according to NEMA, there are some exceptions. And for this, one would need a special permit.
NEMA indicates the activities that can be carried out and those that shouldn't be carried out. And they indicate how those activities should be carried out in order to ensure the integrity of the lake.
There are weaknesses in the monitoring of such legal ventures, although NEMA insists it is done as required.
They ensure that they do not pollute the lake. And if you look at the lake along here, it is not polluted. Why? Because all the waste that is generated by this facility and a few other compliant ones is recycled and no waste comes to the lake. Number 2, one of the requirements in the permit is to plant trees to ensure that there is no runoff and to ensure that there is no erosion or anything that comes into the lake, and that's being adhered to.
Sometimes contamination can't be avoided, even from these sacks of sand put up by those living within 200 meters to block the water. There are others who have made the lake their home. They wash from it. Some businesses even have toilets just 50 meters from the lake and end up polluting it.
We encourage fish farming there, we encourage papyrus harvesting, and some of those who are illegally there, we are usually battling with them, evicting them, they come back, negotiating with them. Sometimes it's a challenge.
Research is being done on contaminants around the lake by the Swiss Tropical and Public Health Institute.
Work is underway, and any human settlement that will be coming closer to the Lake Victoria or to other natural water bodies is bringing more threats on the quality of water.
Crops grown near the water sources suffer the effect of pollution. This not only puts the population by the lake at risk, but also others who may be buying their crop. Gladio asks governments to get more involved in protecting the environment.
Local governance actors tried to get funds for implementing some wastewater treatment plants.
Some factories, including those of soda and beer companies, have treatment plants, though there are challenges.
This treatment plant is able to treat only a certain amount of the wastewater, and many other wastewater are coming out of the treatment plant. So the communities can do something at their own level by cleaning those things, putting in place very simple facilities that holds their waste and holds their wastewater.
The problem is attracting global attention, and the United Nations Environment Programme, based in Nairobi, Kenya, has put up the Global Wastewater Initiative. Sensitization of the communities is now important, more than ever.
But things are at a grade, so they could become worse, or they could be stopped as they are.
UNEP says wastewater, when properly managed, can be a huge water source. The nutrients could supply much of fertilizer normally required for crop production, and wastewater sludge can also be used in agriculture as a soil conditioner or fertilizer and to manufacture building materials or as biofuels. Florence Nalimba, NTV.
Thank you, Florence, for that interesting insight on Nature Files this afternoon. And we're now going to take a short break. But when we come back, we have an update for you in the Oscar Pistorius case. And it seems more countries are jumping in to solve the IS problem in Iraq and Syria.
White Star Laundry Bar Soap with a lemon fragrance, and you'll have a fresh, clean day. Be like a star. Use White Star. White Star Laundry Bar Soap. All day fresh clean.
My Home, brought to you by
Hima Cement.
Build them a house that years can't touch. Build them a home that makes them feel safe and loved. When you build a home, build it with multi-purpose cement from Hima, because homes are built to last forever.
On the next episode, brought to you by...
At Orange, we know you want to do more on the internet. That's why we bring you happy hour day and night.
On the next episode of Marley.
Huh? What did he say? And what does he want in return for it?
I live in hell.
I'm thinking that you should have a chat with Nandi.
I already don't like where you're going with this.
I haven't even said anything yet.
We're happy to help you through this time, but as it were, we are doing you a favor.
Doing me a favor? Really? Do I need to remind you who I am?
You're contesting the will, which technically means you're not entitled to anything from this company.
Robert, somebody, there's Robert, Jera.
Marley.
You can download movies at the lowest prices and never fast from Orange. Dial *133# to buy a data bundle. Happy hour changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
Welcome back to NTV at One. Now, moving on in Masaka, the Eastern African Sub-Regional Support Initiative for Advancement of Women has started empowering victims of domestic violence with knowledge on skills and self-economic reliance in the southern region. And the organization's work started in Kakuto sub-county in Rakai district as the police arrested a mother for torturing her child. Nasazi Babirie, a single mother and a victim of domestic violence, burnt her 6-year-old son using a hot knife for stealing 1,000 shillings that was meant to buy food at their home. And the organization's national coordinator, Elizabeth Ampere, condemned the Ruthlessness Act and attributed this to abject poverty.
I said the woman is at Masaka police station. She has burned the child, his own child. He has burned all the part of the body with a hot knife, which is very bad. And we are going to open a charge against her because that is child abuse. And secondly, that child is not for her, it is for the state. The child is for the state, and state will stand for that case against her.
musembere kumpi eno okuwala mitwe lwabwavu okusabye ennyanya bakusaba sukaali onyiga bunyiza obiteeka mu ntondo muzanya luddo omulimu munene nnyo wali bakyala abaliko obulemu naye ate nga tweyinza obulema si buteesobola tukola ebintu bingi.
Let's have a look now at what's happening in international news. Islamic State fighters in Iraq and Syria have up to 20,000 to 31,500 fighters on the ground. And the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency says that that's much higher than the previous estimate of 10,000.
U.S. intelligence officials say among those in Syria are 15,000 foreign fighters, including 2,000 Westerners. The figures were revealed one day after President Barack Obama pledged to expand an offensive against Islamic State group fighters, a plan which foresees new airstrikes against the group in Syria, expanded attacks in Iraq, and new support for Iraq government forces. The CIA assesses the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant can muster between 20,000 and 31,500 fighters across Iraq and Syria, based on a new review of all source intelligence reports from May to August. Senior U.S. officials have voiced concern at the presence of foreign fighters among the group who hold Western passports, potentially enabling them to return from the battlefield prepared to carry out terror attacks in Europe or the U.S. In other news, French President François Hollande has arrived in Iraq to show support for Baghdad's conflict against the Islamic State group, which has seized large parts of the country in recent months. Hollande's aircraft carrying about 15 tons of humanitarian aid set to be delivered to the Kurdish capital of Erbil landed in Baghdad today in the first visit by a foreign head of state in the country. France is preparing to take part in possible US-led airstrikes against the armed group.
Movement, as we have seen on our TV screens and on the front pages of our newspapers, of utter ferocity.
And Australia has raised its terror threat level to high from medium, saying there was an increased likelihood of an attack at home, despite stressing it had no knowledge of a specific plan. Australia has reportedly raised the alarm about the number of its citizens believed to be fighting with armed groups in the Middle East, including a suicide bomber who killed 2 people in Baghdad in July, and 2 other men shown in images on social media holding severed heads of Syrian soldiers. According to Australian officials, up to 160 people have either been involved in the fighting in Iraq and Syria or actively supporting armed groups, but this is the first time Australia has issued a high alert.
Now on to the Oscar Pistorius case, and the athlete has been found guilty of culpable homicide after the judge found he killed his girlfriend by mistake. Now, Judge Thokozile Masipa said the athlete acted negligently when he fired shots through a toilet door, but in the belief that there was an intruder. And she said the state had failed to find him guilty. He was also found guilty in charge of negligently handling a firearm that went off in a restaurant. According to reports, following the verdict, Pistorius sat, rubbed his face and slumped briefly forward. There was not much emotion in court before everyone knew that the verdict was coming, and it leaves the disgraced sprinter facing a jail sentence of up to 15 years in jail, although legal experts suggest 7 to 10 years is more likely when the sentence is passed in a couple of weeks. The double amputee had denied
murdering Miss Steenkamp rather, after a row on Valentine's Day last year, saying he shot her by mistake. With this, the judge agreed, saying it cannot be said that the accused did not entertain a genuine belief that there was an intruder. And in sports, Aaron Ramsey will be assessed later on today to determine whether the midfielder will be fit for Arsenal's important encounter against the strong Manchester City side on Saturday as Premier League action returns this weekend.
Ramsey picked up an ankle injury during Wales' 2-1 victory against Andorra, and the 23-year-old has criticised the artificial pitch that caused Chris Coleman's side a few issues in their opening European Championship qualifier on Tuesday night. The Gunners were concerned that Ramsey could miss the weekend's match against the reigning Premier League champions in what will be Arsenal's biggest test of the season so far. Having the club's Player of the Year last season fit and available for selection would certainly be a boost for the North London club, who will be looking for a win in order to send out a message that their Premier League title challenge is a very realistic one. Swansea manager Gary Monk insists there is no problem between him and Chelsea boss Jose Mourinho ahead of their Barclays Premier League summit meeting on Saturday. Mourinho failed to shake hands with Monk after a controversial Liberty Stadium contest between the two clubs last April, which Chelsea won 1-0. Chico Flores was sent off early on after picking up a second yellow card, with Monk complaining that Swansea defender only saw red after the Chelsea bench and manager put pressure on the fourth official and their player-surrounded referee Phil Dowd. Manchester United's audacious capture of Radamel Falcao on deadline day caught the attention of world football. Manager Louis van Gaal's potential front line of Wayne Rooney, Robin van Persie and Falcao is one that will leave QPR boss Harry Redknapp with a headache. Also added to United's squad since their last fixture is Dutch defender Danny Blind, while Argentinian defender Marcos Rojo has been granted a visa following his move from Sporting. Van Gaal has now got the players to exploit his favoured 3-5-2 formation, which he enjoyed success with during the World Cup with the Netherlands. A win against QPR would help to settle any early season nerves at Old Trafford. The Red Devils have not had the best of starts and find themselves in 14th position in the Premier League.
That Man United side would slash Arsenal side. Anyway, we're waiting for this weekend's mouth-watering Premier League matches. Man United will be looking forward to watching their new boy Falcao on the pitch, including Di Maria and the likes of Danny Blind. But now we'll be crossing over now to Studio B. Ismail Daka Wachigongu. There's a big match over the weekend, Arsenal and Manchester City. The way you look at things, let's just give us a brief about this game. What do you think will happen? Are we going to see a Manchester City side, scoring about 10 goals against Arsenal?
Well, Malcolm, today it's Darren, not Ismail.
Darren, okay.
But Arsenal facing Manchester City are going to be the biggest game of the weekend in terms of pedigree. But if we talk in terms of performance, the biggest game should be Chelsea against Swansea at the Stamford Bridge. But I think with the new players who have come in, especially Arsenal, the way they did their late business as the transfer window concluded, you'd think and hope for something new. You don't expect a thrashing of probably a 6-1 or a 6-0.
I mean, look at this. Look at this. The front line. Look at Arsenal's front line. Look at Manchester City's front line. Look at their midfields. I mean, on paper, Manchester City, you would say on paper they don't look strong. They look, they actually look strong. But if you tell me we don't expect something special, then I don't get you. You cannot compare the likes of Danny Welbeck and Aguero. You put them on the same. It's likely to be a massacre. That's what I believe. I mean. Are you trying?
I think the margins will be closed down, especially in the middle. I think the new signings for Man City, as well as Arsenal, if I pray they get Aaron Ramsey onto the pitch for that early kickoff tomorrow. I think the margins will be closed down. I don't see a thrashing. Arsenal this season, they've shown us that they can fight and probably get a snatch.
We're waiting for you to prove that here on Monday. Thank you very much, Aaron, and thank you for watching as well. That's been it on NTV at 1. Let's now go and have more updates, fixtures, and of course what the Uganda Cranes is doing after that nice win against Guinea. Enjoy your lunch.